It's D-U-E-U tell. I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan's NFL All 32 show. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and on today's episode, it will be all about the Kansas City Chiefs as we start to preview the upcoming 2021 NFL season. We'll take a look at some training camp quick hits, some reasons for optimism, as well as some causes for concern, in addition to our positional breakdowns on both sides of the ball. And we will also take a look at the Chiefs' road to the Super Bowl as well. But first, let's get this video kicked off by taking a look at some of the key storylines heading into the Chiefs season as we go into our 4-minute offense. Frank Clark's situation is going to be a major story to keep an eye on as training camp kicks off. It could put his spot with the team in jeopardy and at worst causes him to miss a few games into the season. That in and of itself would be a huge blow as he started to play some of his best ball toward the back end of the season and into the playoffs. If he's not able to go, it could weaken an already questionable group on the defensive side of the football, which ties directly into my next point. Which player can step up and generate the pressure on the outside if Frank Clark can't play? It's already a pretty thin group with Taco Charlton, Mike Dana, young player, Tim Ward, young player, and rookie Joshua Kane out of Florida State. So it'll be up to one of these young guys to quickly emerge, find consistency to help take some of the pressure off the defensive interior where they're stronger, led by All-Pro Chris Jones and company. Judging by how the Super Bowl went for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense as a whole, fixing the offensive line was a major focal point this offseason. They were aggressive in that pursuit, trading for Orlando Brown, signing Joe Thuney and Austin Blight, investing 2 draft picks in Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. They were also able to get Kyle Long to come out of retirement, and they will get back Laurent Duvernay-Tardif and Louis Niang back from opting out of the 2020 season. So needless to say, we shouldn't expect a repeat performance of what we saw last February down in Tampa. The only question is, can this unit gel quickly and get off to a great start? Getting better up front will also have a direct effect on the run game and its quest to be better. Last year, the running game was just about average with 112 yards a game, which put them squarely at 16th in the NFL. Now, with a revamped group up front and a healthier Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Chiefs should be able to close out opponents a bit better this year while also adding the ability to beat you in a multitude of ways. Once again, Patrick Mahomes is coming off of a banner season, throwing for over 4,700 yards, 38 touchdowns to only 6 picks, and averaging 8.1 yards an attempt. He faced some adversity last year, getting injured in that playoff game against the Browns, but was able to return the following week against Buffalo and play really well. You can tell that toe hindered him during the Super Bowl while helping to contribute to what we saw out there on the field. Now, reports are that he's feeling better and ready to get back to the big game this season, but you have to give credit to Chad Henne and the excellent job he did stepping into that playoff game against the Browns and making the biggest play of the game, converting on 4th and inches to ice that ball game and move on to the next round. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a productive rookie season. He started out with a bang, but then was a bit up and down before getting injured and then returning later in the season. Despite all of that, he still finished with just over 800 yards rushing at 4.4 yards a clip. He also contributed 36 receptions in the passing game as well, and one would expect him to have an explosion in productivity this upcoming year with the full bill of health, a second year in the system, and acclimation to the pro game, and a rebuilt offensive line in front of him. Now, depth-wise, the Chiefs have both Darrell Williams and Elijah McGuire, along with Darwin Thompson as guys who are familiar with this offense. But keep an eye out for free agent signee Jerick McKinnon, who still has game left despite the injuries that plagued him the last 2 seasons, as he could find an increased role within his backfield. Tyreek Hill paves the way for the receiving core that'll be looking for growth within this group this year. Hill needs to get his flowers for how special of a receiver he is. People always harp on his speed, and justifiably so, but he's been so dominant as a player as a wideout, and with 47 receiving touchdowns on his resume, he definitely has the ability to score the football. Where the expected growth lies is with both Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson. Hardman is equally as explosive as Hill and is coming off of another solid season. He virtually had the same amount of yards, but the yards per catch dropped from 20 to 13.7. Robinson has seen his productivity improve every season, steadily progressing in the right direction, and he'll have to hold off rookie wide receiver Cornell Powell out of Clemson for those opportunities within his unit. Powell figures to be more of an underneath physical option as opposed to the speedy vertical threats like Hill and Hardman. And look for Byron Pringle and Garrick Dieter to vie for more opportunities as well out there on the field. Now, Travis Kelce is arguably the best tight end in football and is coming off of yet another 1,000-yard season. The three-time All-Pro had his best year yet across the board in receptions, yards, touchdowns, yards per game, and receptions per game. They were all career highs. The Chiefs drafted Noah Gray in the 5th round out of Duke as another receiving option, and he'll compete with Nick Keiser for that second receiving option at the position, while Blake Bell is more of a blocker. Gray has that athletic ability to get down the seam. By bringing in potentially 3 new starters up front in Joe Thuney, Orlando Brown Jr., and Austin Blythe, the Chiefs hope to have much better pass protection and a better run game overall for the long haul. Now, getting back Laurent Duvernay-Tardif from his 2020 opt-out season also helps. At worst, he helps strengthen the depth up front, and I would be interested to see how 2020 draft pick and opt-out Lucas Niang fits into the picture. He was a 3rd round selection last year and figures to compete for that right tackle job with Mike Remmers. Now, there's excitement surrounding both 2021 draft picks in center Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. Both guys will push for starting jobs this season, and don't be surprised to see both starting by season's end. Nick Allegretti, Andrew Wiley, and Yasir Durant help provide versatile swing depth up front, and personally, I think this group is deeper than what we saw last season, which is a good thing. Frank Clark's legal situation looms large over the defensive line, more so in particular the defensive ends. He finished 2nd on the team in sacks with 6, and they really needed him to post those double-digit sack type numbers. They were expecting that this year, but now the focus falls completely on Taco Charlton, the veteran, and 2 young players in Tim Ward and second-year player Mike Dana. Now, Ward flashed in his start late last season and hopes to carry that momentum into this year. And Dana is a shorter, squatty edge guy that has good burst and closing speed in pursuit. Joshua Kane, though, the rookie out of Florida State, is built a lot like former Chief Tano Passanio at 6'7", 265, and has enough work-withable skills and upside for the Chiefs to get him a lot of reps, in my opinion, this upcoming preseason, get him ready for the regular season. They are much more stout and stable on the inside with All-Pro Chris Jones, who led the team in sacks last year. He's a very disruptive force on the inside, and they signed Jerron Reed in free agency, giving them another interior pressure player that's coming off of a 6.5 sack season. Derek Nottie has been a steady, solid player since his rookie year and really helps them versus the run, and it's a pivotal year, in my opinion, for Colin Saunders, the uber athletic defensive lineman who is still trying to work himself into heavy rotation up front within his unit. Anthony Hitchens gives them really good play at linebacker. He's been a consistent player for them in the middle. Now, the challenge has been to find competency opposite of him. The team hopes that Willie Gay takes a significant step in his second year. He has the athleticism and the upside potential in coverage, and he's stylistically similar to 2nd-round pick Nick Bolton out of Missouri, who's a dart and dash type backer that they would love to pair with Gay and let those two be the future at the position. But keep an eye out for undrafted rookie free agent Riley Cole from South Alabama, who is another athletic run and chase backer that has great blitzing ability. Ben Neiman and Amari Cobb out of Marshall helps them with the depth here at the 2nd level. This is an impressive group here in the secondary for Kansas City. What a rookie season L'Jarius Sneed had last year, picking off 3 passes, which was tied for the lead on the team. He was an instant impact player in coverage, and his presence was felt when he was out a few weeks due to injury. Travarius Ward has been a steady player at corner, as well as Rashad Fenton. Both players make it difficult to complete passes against him with how well they are able to attack the football. DeAndre Baker was a really good acquisition for the team before he got injured, and I would expect to see a lot of him this season. They also traded for former Vikings 1st-round pick in Mike Hughes, who has tremendous talent but was snake bitten by the injury bug in Minnesota. So he gives them a versatile corner that can play inside or out and has terrific ball skills. They are strong at safety as well with the veteran Tyrann Mathieu and Juan Thornhill. Both guys are move pieces on the back end that play with the instinctiveness that you want, which leads to them making a lot of plays on the ball. And Daniel Sorensen is a good football player who has a nose for the football, and he's seemingly in on a lot of plays at the right time for this defense. One of the reasons for optimism for Kansas City, you look at how they address the offensive line, trading for Orlando Brown, signing Joe Thuney and Austin Blythe, drafting Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. They looked at that Super Bowl loss and said, we have to get better up front. And judging by their moves this offseason, I think they definitely did that. You also look at the secondary. It's impressive. They have a lot of young talent across the board in the secondary, guys that are athletic. They're aggressive. They can take the ball away. They can match up across the board. Their secondary pieces has the potential to be one of the top in the AFC. And they also still have Pat Mahomes and company. When you have one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback in football right now, you're always going to have a chance. So you always will have a reason to be optimistic about the upcoming season. A cause for concern would be if the third receiving option in this passing offense after Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce doesn't emerge and become consistent. That's Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, or even the rookie Cornell Powell. If one of those guys can't step up in the departure of Sammy Watkins, who's now with the Ravens, if they can't step up and be consistent in that third receiving role, I think it could be an issue for their offense. And defensively, if they can't get pressure from the edges, you have Frank Clark's situation still up in the air. Mike Dan is a second-year player. They're hoping he improves. Taco Charlton is okay. He's hit or miss sometimes in terms of pass rush. So if they can't get that pressure from the outside, because we know Chris Jones will do his job on the inside, it can be an issue for the defense. They really need those defensive ends to step up. Look at some training camp quick hits, starting with a camp surprise. Offensively, I think people will be surprised at how good Trey Smith is as a football player. He's been dominant from day one at Tennessee. He had the health issues, but when he's out there on the field, he's been outstanding. I think people will get familiar with his play this summer, as well as Marlon Character, who has a lot of skill set that's similar to L'Jarius Sneed, a guy that can play safety or corner, good ball skills, good aggressiveness, very good in run support. He'll surprise in training camp. Rookie impact players, I look at Creed Humphrey. I think he's going to find his way on the field and play a lot of significant minutes for the Chiefs offense. That was a very good offensive line selection in this year's draft. And I also feel as though Nick Bolton has a clear path to get on the field at linebacker. He has good speed, good burst. He chases the ball well, does a good job in being aggressive upon contact. So look for those two guys, in my opinion, to have impacts this season as rookies. The X factor will be the rebuilt offensive line. We've talked about it all show. With the way they went out and aggressively attacked that unit and got those pieces in place, they need this unit to really thrive from week 1 to week 17. And Mike Dana, I think, is someone that's another X factor. We talked about Frank Clark's situation. If this guy can step up and bring that consistent pressure off the edge, then they'll be just fine. Breakout players offensively, I'm looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think he'll go over 1,000 yards. He'll have the breakout season this year. What we expected from him to have last season as a rookie, he'll have that in year 2. And DeAndre Baker has been a really good player since the latter part of his Giants tenure on the field. And the brief stint we saw him play last year with Kansas City, I think all of that tells you he's trending in the right direction in his prime for a breakout. The road to the Super Bowl for the Chiefs goes as follows. Number 1, Mahomes continues to suit up and wear a uniform for Kansas City. He always will give them a shot. But more seriously, the offensive line, if they are able to gel quickly and not show the inconsistency of a unit that's been pieced together just this season, then this offense shouldn't miss a beat. And the defensive line can get more consistent, more so on the edges. Kansas City can find themselves going back to LA and playing in another Super Bowl, 3rd year in a row. I have the Chiefs finishing first in the AFC West. Their offense, to me, will be just fine. I think the offensive line will be able to play well and help elevate the ground game. And defensively, I'm a big fan of what they're able to do now in the secondary. I also feel as though the linebacking core will be much improved. Defensive line, interior on out should be solid. So overall, this is still the best team in the division. So that's it for this edition of Football Game Plan's NFL All 32. I am Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to the Football Game Plan Network located at youtube.com/footballgameplan. Also subscribe on iTunes to Football Game Plan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating.
It's DUEUT. tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.